Okay, so we're about to start a unit about quadrilaterals, and the easiest way I've known to talk about this is really to tell you a story. So you're here for story time today. And with this story, I'm going to draw a picture because it's just so much better when you have a story and you have pictures to go with it, right? All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about is quadrilaterals. And quadrilateral just means that a shape has four sides. So I think if I zoom over here, there we go. Quadrilateral just means it has four sides. And so the story that we're going to talk about today happens on Quadrilateral Island. So here I've drawn Quadrilateral Island. I'm trying intentionally to draw a shape that's not any particular anything. It's not anything special. It just is Quadrilateral Island because this shape itself has four sides, you see? All right, so on Quadrilateral Island, there's a really special family that lives there. And this family is called the parallelogram family. And so a parallelogram looks kind of like this. It looks a lot like this shape of Tennessee. It is a parallelogram because it has two sets of parallel sides. So remember, parallel lines, they have this marking. Like on the parallel lines, they've got these arrows. So we're going to draw that, try to notate that on our picture. And if you're taking notes, which you should be, you need to be drawing this picture really big so you can fit all this detail. So the picture that I'm drawing should take up your entire piece of paper. Okay, so we are adding our little parallel symbols here. So this is the parallelogram family. Goodness gracious. Sorry, I can't get my marker to work. And obviously, the family, everyone in this family is a parallelogram. So we're going to zoom in and talk specifically about some of the people in this family. So in the family, this is a nice story, right? In the family, there's a mom, and the mom is going to be a rectangle. Now, sometimes people have trouble defining what a rectangle is, so I'm going to give you a definition. A rectangle is a shape that has four right angles. Now, there are some other things that are true about a rectangle, but the base definition of a rectangle that I want you to know is that it has four right angles. All right, so this far, just kind of recapping, right? We've got Quadrilateral Island here. That's the island. Parallelogram family. Now, notice the family can only live on the island because parallelograms also have four sides, right? So a triangle couldn't live on this island, or a pentagon, or a circle, just anything that has four sides. So a parallelogram, this family can live there. And the mom is part of the family because a rectangle does have parallel sides that are opposite. A rectangle is just a special type of parallelogram because it also has four right angles, okay? So this is the mom. Now, this is not a single family household. We've got a dad in this situation. So our dad here is going to be a rhombus. Try to draw this for you. All right, now you might think that this rhombus looks a lot like the parallelogram, and it does, because it is a parallelogram. Otherwise, the dad couldn't be part of the family, right? But what's special about a rhombus is that it has four equal sides. Now, remember from the notation we've done before, congruent sides have these little tick marks on the side. All right, so that makes it a rhombus. So I'm going to zoom out so we can see the rhombus notes as well. Where are we? All right. So we've got the island and the parallelogram, the family, the mom. And so the rhombus is the dad. And again, the rhombus, the dad, he's part of the parallelogram family, so he also has sets of parallel sides. And he's on the island, so of course he has to have four sides himself. All right, now this is where our story gets, I don't know, fun, whatever. Okay, so everybody knows that when mommies and daddies love each other, and sometimes when they don't, and sometimes not when they should, but when mommies and daddies love each other, they have a baby. And they just think their baby is the most perfect thing in the world, which in this case is actually true, right? So if you think about, if you put a rectangle that has four congruent sides, and if you put a rhombus that has four equal sides together, think about the shape that you should get there. All right, so hopefully you came up with a square. All right, so the square is the baby of our family. And just so that you can note here, squares are both of these things. So I'm just going to show that these things come together. They have four right angles, and they also have four congruent sides. All right, so here's your recap. Again, the square is part of the family, so it still has parallel sides, and it's still a quadrilateral because it's on the island. All right, so this is, if you know this and you can draw this out, you're going to be able to answer a lot of questions that maybe sound really confusing, but they're not really once you kind of know this story. And when we get together in class, we're going to practice drawing this out. We'll probably draw it out like every day this week just so that you have a chance to remember the relationships between these. This will also help you with ACT. There's a lot of times they try to ask questions about these, and if you just know the relationships, you can answer a lot of things. All right, now we know that this would be kind of a weird story if there were only one family on the island. So there's got to be a few other families going on here. And we all know, we all have these cousins that are just, they're cool. You got some cousins, they're twins, actually, but, they're just a little weird, right? Like, they don't fit in your family. So, but they're still your cousins. So you still, they're cool to hang out with. But, so you've got these cousins, and these cousins are trapezoids. So one of them is cooler than the other. Sorry if you're a twin or if you know twins, but we know it's true, right? One twin is always just a little bit cooler than the other. Okay, I'm totally kidding. But they are different, obviously, right? So one twin is the trapezoid. They're the trapezoid twins. So, sorry, I keep having to pause the video to draw these out. All right, so here's our trapezoid, and a trapezoid is allowed to be on the island. The trapezoid has 4 sides, and it's kind of your family because it does appear to have parallel sides, right? These 2 sides are parallel, but it only has 1 set of parallel sides. If it had both sets, then it would just be a parallelogram, so it's got to be a little bit different. So this is just your regular trapezoid. We might talk a little bit more about these later, but these this top and the bottom, the parallel parts, are called the bases. And these other 2 sides here are called the legs. So make sure you get that into your picture. Now, I told you, though, that the trapezoids are twins. So it's not just this trapezoid. He's got a twin. And the twin is actually just a little bit cooler. The twin is a trapezoid, so it does only have 1 set of parallel sides. But this one is cool because the legs themselves are congruent. And we've talked about before when things have 2 congruent sides. This is actually called an isosceles trapezoid. Remember, isosceles triangles have 2 legs that are congruent? Well, isosceles trapezoids are the same. They have 2 legs that are congruent. And the same kind of rules that go along with angles being congruent are true. But in general, these are your 2 cousins, right? All right, so there are your notes, your isosceles trapezoid and your trapezoid, right? Your cousin and your cooler cousin. Again, still all part of the island. And then you do have one more cousin, right? Sometimes you have cousins on your mom's side, sometimes you have cousins on your dad's side. All right, so we're going to have another cousin come in. All right, and this is the last one. This cousin is, I'm actually going to try to draw the shape first. And this is not drawn super well, but this is a kite, so hopefully you recognize that. So a kite has, it's kind of like a rectangle, I guess, in that it has sets of equal sides, but on the kite, the sides that are equal are next to each other. They're not across from each other. If you don't see that this is a kite, think about like a kite that you fly in the air. I'm going to try to like draw the little lines on them. And if you put like the crossbars on there, see, does that look a little bit more like a kite? Okay. So the kite is also your cousin. And the way that they give its definition is to say that a kite has 2 sets of adjacent congruent legs. That means this is just adjacent, another way to say that the 2 legs that are congruent are next to each other, not across from each other. All right, so this is another cousin. Okay, so for tomorrow, what I want for you to be able to do is to draw this picture out and to identify the relationships between all of the characters in this story. Hopefully you know how to do the markings too, for parallel, for right angles, for congruent. And then we'll talk some more about some of the properties, but knowing the relationships is a really big deal, and that's what I want you to get out of this video.